Hi everyone, this is my presentation on why the minimum wage should be raised. A very intelligent person somewhere once said, "A job is more than just a paycheck, rather a job is about dignity." I'm going to speak to you today about the growing need in our country to raise the minimum wage. According to AmericanProgress.org, raising the current minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 would benefit almost 40 million workers. That's 1 in 4 workers. Furthermore, for those 40 million workers, raising the minimum wage would lead to an annual income increase as much as $8,000, which could be extremely beneficial to households surviving on minimum wage incomes. For example, the average American household spends $250 to $550 per person a month on groceries. So an annual income increase of $8,000 could significantly help aid in that cost and also be the difference between households eating what they want versus eating what they can. I'm also fortunate that my employer pays a few dollars above the minimum. I'm fortunate enough to still have parents willing to feed and house me while I'm in school, so the money I make from my part-time job can mostly go to the things I want. However, I know for a lot of my coworkers, the money they make, they need to survive. Some are in school trying to get by, while others have their own families and children that they need to provide for. To put things into perspective, I had a coworker at my fast food job once. We can call her Joy because that's what she was, and Joy was in charge of the ice cream. She was also getting into her older years. Joy had her first baby young and wasn't able to complete school as scheduled, and burdened with responsibilities, she never went back. She jumped from minimum wage jobs and was juggling 3 at a time when I knew her. But she was also the sweetest, nicest, and most hardworking lady I've ever met. Even though she worked all day and night, she always kept a positive attitude. How is it that Joy worked the hardest but still made the least, even with juggling 3 jobs? To answer that question, the answer to that question is because of the outdated minimum wage. I want to speak to you today about the discrepancy between the minimum wage and the cost of living in America, how raising the minimum wage would help close the wage gap for various groups of people, and finally, how raising the minimum wage would improve the quality of life for millions. First, we must discuss the issue of jobs not providing enough for people to survive. The cost of living is increasing while the minimum wage is staying the same. According to a survey conducted by CNN, 2 out of 3 workers feel that their paycheck cannot sustain the cost of living anymore. In fact, it was even established by the Social Security that the cost of living adjustment for January 2023 was the highest increase in 40 years at 5.9%. Even more shockingly, it is predicted that with the growing cost of food, housing, and healthcare, and other necessities, the cost of living adjustment for 2023 could be well over 8.9%. All while the cost of living is increasing, the minimum wage and wages in general are staying the same. The current federal minimum wage is $7.25 and has been $7.25 since 2009. $7.25 equates to about $15,000 a year, and there is not a single state in this country where a worker making $15,000 a year could even afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Furthermore, not only is the current minimum wage outdated, but revising it could help working women and people of color. Raising the minimum wage could help close the gender and racial wage gap. According to the President's Council of Economic Advisors, if the minimum wage was raised from $7.25 to just $10.10 an hour, that alone could close 5% of the gender wage gap. Additionally, if the minimum wage could be raised to $15 an hour, Black women could earn 66 cents to a white man's dollar as opposed to the current 63 cents. While cents may not seem like a lot, the 3 cents would help lessen the wage gap, which is better than leaving it where it is. Another reason why the minimum wage should be raised is because a higher minimum wage means a higher quality of life for millions. Providing economic stability is proven to help give people a better quality of life. According to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, research has shown that increasing wages helps reduce mortality rates due to suicide and drugs. In fact, it was found by the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities that every dollar increase in the minimum wage of U.S. states could reduce the suicide rates in people of color and people with high school education by less than 6%. To conclude, I've informed you all today on how the current minimum wage is outdated, how it supports the current wage gap, and how, by raising the minimum wage, the quality of life for millions of people can be improved. Everyone has basic physiological needs like food, water, and shelter, but if some members of our society cannot afford these basic necessities, then how can they focus on anything else? How can society be bettered and advanced if some of its members can't even afford to eat? In the effort to ensure that those basic needs are met so society as a whole can advance, We can remember the words of American civil rights leader Benjamin Todd Jellis, who said, "No person can maximize the American dream on the minimum wage." And if there aren't any questions, then I think we're done. Thank you guys.